All right, what's going on, everybody? My name's Crypto Corey. I want to thank you for joining me. I just want to kind of give you like a little quick little thought, I guess. Just kind of running around is a lot of times people they're talking about they're taking out the profits out of their Bitcoin and then they're putting them into dollars. So when you take your profits, you think of taking out money, dollars, because that's what you use to buy and spend and things like that. So it's interesting to have that mindset, because then what you're always looking at as a value is the dollar. You're viewing the dollar as something as valuable, and you're trying to get an asset. You're trying to take an asset of yours and you're trying to get as much dollars out of it as possible. And that's great. That's absolutely great. I love that. But I'm starting to flip a little bit right now. So we are heading into recession. Asset prices are now going down, which means the value of the dollar is going up. So my mindset is beginning to switch from taking an asset's profit and turning it into fiat, into dollars. I'm starting to think that I can slowly start to buy assets cheaper, or I'm getting more Bitcoin for my dollar. So I'm now my dollar can buy more Bitcoin, and I'm switching my profit into buying the cheap end of it all. So people talk about they want to buy low, sell high, but in reality, whenever it's low, people are really scared to actually go out and buy. That conviction kind of just goes away. So what I try to do is I try to understand the real value over time of something, and then where that value is currently sitting, where it's going to be heading. And I basically make a judgment call whether it's overvalued or undervalued in that moment, and whether at the moment I'm favoring digital currency, whether I'm favoring assets like real estate, if I'm favoring whatever you're favoring, asset wise. If you're favoring that, it's because that you believe that it is outperforming the dollar, and the dollar is not able to buy as much of that over time. That's why whenever you sell it for more dollars, because it now takes more dollars to buy that asset than it did prior. But we can flip that. And what people view this flipping is they view it like it's a crash, it's negative, this is a bad thing. This is when you're losing money, right? That's what they think. You're losing money. So what ends up happening is people think that they're going to sell that top, and then they've got money for the bottom. But what actually ends up happening is they see the top, they miss the top, and then the price falls, and then they begin to sell their position when the price is on its decline. So I'm not dogging, and if you're in profit, if you sell and you have profit, I don't, you made profit, correct? If we're talking profit in dollars. So if I were to think about my mindset right now, just entering into a recession, we might be 30 to 50% through the stretch that would be called the recession, which is about 600 days on average if you're looking at it from a market standpoint. So when I look at that, I think now that we're on the decline and the price has declined so much, it's actually gone below what I would consider these assets to be worth, and the dollar is gaining value. So I have more dollars right now than I have assets, or I've got assets that are just long-term holds that you hold through all of it. But if you're thinking about more of a short-term mindset, then I'm currently holding more dollars than I'm holding assets, or asset value. So what I want to do is, now that I see this decline happening, and it's not just that it's a down market. So we in crypto, it's been a bear market for a while. So if you've been in Bitcoin, we've been in a bear market since pretty much the end November, December of 2021. So if you look at the actual declaration of a bear market for the S&P 500, we just now entered into a bear market according to stocks, or the stock market. So the way that I'm viewing this is, now that we've entered into a bear market with the stock market, it's time for me to start buying the bear market. I'm buying. So like, basically what I'm doing for now is, I'm going to buy this price during the bear market, and then all these people who are scared, who thought they were going to buy low and sell high, what they're doing is they're going to sell, and it's going to keep going down. And every time I buy, my money actually goes down. So you're seeing me buy all this going down, but what I'm doing is I'm buying steadily over a extended period of time, probably about a year to 2 years for Bitcoin, I imagine. And then when we're talking about the S&P 500, you're never actually stopping. You're steadily buying. What you're doing is, sometimes you're buying less, sometimes you're buying more often. So right now is a time in the stock market, I'm buying more often. I'm starting to buy more often. And in the crypto market, I'm in a steady 1 year purchase at the moment. So like my average purchase price, I would like to bring it down now that the price action's gone as low as it has. I'd like to bring my average purchase price down. It's sitting somewhere around $30,000 right now, but I'd like to bring it down to 25, especially if let's say Bitcoin hits that 17 to 20k range, where the first, if I could show you on a chart, but I mean, that's I'm not here to do this as a vlog. I'll show you some chart stuff later, but that can show you these levels, and levels of support, levels of resistance. But if you look at the charts, I'm looking at that 17 to 20, 16 to $20,000 range as being my focal point of what I'd love to buy in. But I'm thinking I'm going to be buying somewhere mostly around the $22,000 to $25,000 mark in reality, because you'll hit that little dip, and you have basically what's called despair. Despair goes down lower, so lower than the 200-day moving average. Then it'll pop up a little bit, then it'll slowly move out, whether it's moving out sideways, or if the 200 day is also moving down, maybe go down a little bit more. But basically what I'm looking at is you're trying to buy as low as you can, but in reality, buying the dip isn't really you buying the bottom, it's you buying a basket. You know what I mean? You're buying it's a basket of assets, right? So what you're doing is you're buying that whole, capitulation and accumulation phase, and a little bit of growth phase. You're buying all of that dip, and then at some point, whenever you had your fair market value for that asset, and it's now gone above the average value of that asset, basically at that time I slow down to stop purchasing all cryptocurrency at that point. So like, that point for me initially was going to be 50k for Bitcoin, thinking Bitcoin would go to 100k. But whenever I noticed that it wasn't reaching those levels when it needed to, I was able to get all my buys and stuff and get everything back into where I'm below $30,000 on my average purchase. And now that we're, that's in the bear market. You got to think it was at like 70k, and I rode all the way up to that 70k. Now I didn't sell because it's really difficult for me to think that a man one time bought a pizza with like a couple of Bitcoin, and a couple of Bitcoin right now is, you know what I mean, it's worth tens of thousands of dollars, for shares or portions of Bitcoin. So, you thinking that Bitcoin's $22,000, and let's say you bought 2 pizzas for a Bitcoin each, $40,000, like, geez. So wanting to sell my Bitcoin instead of just accruing more Bitcoin. It's an odd thought for me. So I'm not really big into selling it. Now I have sold other things, and other crypto like altcoins. So a lot of these altcoins, some of them are good. Some of them maybe they aren't as good as I thought they were, but I would sell them into some form of profit before you lose any money, obviously, because you missed the top, right? So what you sell the you sell the dome, right? So if you're gonna buy a basket, you're gonna sell the dome. So that's essentially what you're trying to do, and you're not gonna hit it. So like on a few things, it went up to like 8x, like some insane 800%. And then by the time I was able to realize that it's not going up any further, I sold it and it was at like a 3 to 5x. You know what I mean? Like that's just how it happens. But to the average person, what ends up happening is they hold on to it so long beyond that, and then when it's going down, it goes down below their purchase price. Now that's on things like risky assets like altcoins. So if we're discussing cryptocurrency, yes, I would definitely say cryptocurrency is one of those things that it's risky. It's a lot of it's difficult to time the market. You really can't just invest long term into a lot of these things, so we don't know much about them. But if we're talking specifically things like Bitcoin, what Bitcoin directly is, if you don't really know what Bitcoin is, you need to just go look up blockchain. You need to look up Web3. You need to look up the Lightning Network. And you need to look up legacy systems. So like these are the things that you would have to research just to understand what Bitcoin is. And then you start taking that. It is a cryptocurrency, but it's its own animal because it solves a specific problem that the real world can't solve. So that's the reason why Bitcoin's so valuable, is because what it's designed to do is it's designed to fix money. Like it was designed to be money, but I don't think it is money. It's a fix for money. So it is essentially, I don't even want to call it digital gold even, because you're not going to be buying and selling and trading and bartering with gold. We're not on a gold system anymore. Gold's heavy to transport. It's very difficult. Bitcoin's not heavy. It transports instantly across all corners of the world, like instant. It's an instant transfer. There were people who were sending Bitcoin to Ukrainian refugees in Poland, and they were sending to them, and these transactions were taking like a few minutes, and they can send them through Cash App, and there's not a middleman like a Visa transfer. You're not doing a wire transfer where it's 25 in, 25 out. You're not having to pay taxes, or the government's not getting their hands into anything for you to send large quantities of money outside of the US to safe havens. So Bitcoin is solving a lot of these real world problems that the dollar can't solve, that gold can't solve. And that's why I find Bitcoin as a world. So if you're looking at your different forms of assets, I would consider it to be like foreign. It's like I would consider to be the most foreign asset you could get would be like Bitcoin, or just cryptocurrency in a general sense. But as far as a valuable long-term investment, definitely going to be Bitcoin. So when I look at that, and then I look at like more like local, if we were going to talk about like currency in our own country, it's obviously it's going to be dollar. And then you're going to be finding assets in your own country, which would be real estate, which could be collectibles. There could be a bunch of stuff, but it's going to be stuff that's going to be bought and sold inside your own country for US dollar. While Bitcoin, it's its own kind of animal that sits outside the realm of centralized governments and centralized networks. It's a decentralized cryptocurrency, and it's on a decentralized network. So and it validates itself. So there's not a middleman to have to get paid in order to validate these transactions. So it basically solves many problems that the legacy system, which is our current monetary system that we run off of today, it solves a lot of that problem, and it solves it without inflation. So the inflation rate right now for Bitcoin is at a minimum, but at some point there will be no more inflation. there'll be no more Bitcoin left. Now, I don't know what exactly it'll do to the price point whenever that finally does happen, but that's not going to happen for a very, very long time. I think once it runs out, you're going to see a nice big run up. Like, we might have big run ups because the scarcity becomes real. And at the time, we don't know what the population is going to be and what the price action is going to be. But, you know, right now I've moved into dollars. Now I'm talking a lot about Bitcoin. I've moved into dollars prior, so not now. I'm not moving into dollars right now. I have already sold many assets, moved into dollars, and I've used those dollars recently, and I will continue to use those dollars to buy a basket of assets that I think is going to outperform the dollar and outperform the inflation on top of the dollar over a medium period of time and a long period of time. Short-term investing, I don't really do any. I don't like to bet against stuff, so I'm not trying to short markets or anything. But you know, I'll be back to maybe some short-term flipping and investing. You know, when the bull market continues. My collectibles business was doing very well in 2021. It was very surprising, and I was able to use a lot of that money to accumulate things like Bitcoin and NFTs and you know, some other various things that we've invested into, like stock markets type stuff. So that's basically it. Just the vlog where I'm just kind of talking about that. Now, this is not financial advice. I'm not telling you to go out and spend your money on any asset right now, because we do. You're buying a basket, right? So there's going to be more negative price action. I believe it will be. There's going to be more negative price action to come, and I will be buying that. So if you're thinking you're going to buy and not see your money go down, that emotion is pretty heavy. You got to understand, you got to check your emotion when you're doing your investing, because all we're really doing is we're just evaluating the price of a dollar versus the price of an asset. And then we're evaluating at what times we should be heavier into fiat US dollar, and what time we should be more heavily invested into assets. So that's basically what you're doing. But at the same time, that's like a medium short-term mindset. In reality, I'm much more interested in thinking of buying and buying and buying and buying and never ever selling, and just becoming an old man with a large basket that I bought over the course of a career, like a Roth IRA, like, you know, just accumulating Bitcoin. I know some people collect cars and stuff. I don't really know how to collect cars and make money, but maybe you collect coins, maybe you collect stamps, maybe you collect stuff that accrues in value over time, Funko Pops, comic books, Pokemon cards, what you name it. If it's something that is going to gain value over time, accumulating those things and storing them and keeping them properly and according to how they're going to be valued, that over time is going to build your, what we would call wealth, or your overall basket. Now, with all this said, I recommend before you do any of this stuff, there's giving. You give first. You give first, you give often, you give always. So that's what you do. And I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about you give of you. What you have to offer. Now that very much is money. It's also your time. It's also understanding. It's also devotion. There's so many ways to give, but you start with giving, and then based upon your giving, you know, hopefully it humbles you enough to when you're out here trying to earn, trying to accumulate, when you're out doing that, it keeps some perspective in mind. So that way you can check your emotions, first of all, so that way your giving never stops, right? Your giving just never stops, and it goes up and down, whatever. I don't want to say give this percent or that percent, because if you're going to give 10% of your income, then if you garden in the summer, make sure you give 10% of your tomatoes and 10% of your cucumbers, and, you know, just make sure you give 10% of everything you got perfectly, right? Otherwise, you're not doing it right. So give often. If you don't want to be, you know, thinking that you're be a Pharisee, you're being, you know, one-track mind. You don't like to give 10%, but you don't want to give less. Give 11%. You know, don't be a Pharisee. Give 11%. But give your first fruits. and give often just give of you. And then while you're accumulating these things, appreciate what's been given to you. I'm a Christian. I'm not trying to like force anything on people, but through my faith, I've got some basic practices that I've instilled into my life that has been of benefit. Not guaranteeing that that's what's always going to happen. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. I don't want to say that your devotion to a faith is going to make you wealthy, healthy, anything. But what I can tell you is that devoting your life to Christ, having faith in Christ, gives you the ultimate wealth, the ultimate riches, which is an eternal life with Him. Not just you get to live and do whatever you want forever, but you get to live and you get to participate in what God's plan is. So I'd like to thank you for joining me. Again, nothing I say is financial advice. My name is Crypto Corey. I want to thank you for joining me. I think I already said that. I'll see you on the next one. Have a good day, y'all.